Hi everyone. So for those of you who don't know, Apple just announced that they are their new iPhone 5, and this is a bit of a spoiler alert, and because I'm going to be showing some pictures and going over what the event covered today. So if you don't want to see it, stop watching now, because it's going to be a spoiler for some of Apple's new products and new product lines, including the iPhone 5. So Apple basically started the event like they always do. They talked about Tim Cook talked about the new store in Barcelona and was bragging about how Apple's stores are now in over 18 countries, or 18 countries now. He then went on to talk about how Mountain Lion has now sold 7 million downloads. There's been 7 million downloads of Mountain Lion, which is amazing for the iMacs and all your Mac computers, Apple computers. And it's the number one U.S. notebook seller. So the iPads now are selling they've sold 17 million just from April to June. So they've actually sold more iPads than all the PC entire lineup. So we really are in a post-PC era, and Apple has really generated and moved that forward here. So 94% of all web traffic supposedly actually comes from iPad, and a lot of those comes from the App Store. There's 700,000 iOS apps available, so they're really competing with the Android market. They're the number one with the amount of available downloaded apps here. And 250,000 of those apps are actually for the iPad. So it's absolutely unbelievable. No wonder it is a post-PC era. That's a huge amount of apps, and more coming every day. So 400 million iOS devices have been sold in June 2012 alone. Unbelievable. So basically, Apple jumped right into the phone. They didn't do one more thing. I think that kind of went by the wayside along when Steve Jobs passed. So basically, they started it right away, and they have a picture of the 3GS design. And they talked about how the iPhone changed what we know of the phone forever. Now, for those of you who have been anxiously awaiting this event today and have been trying to figure out what the new iPhone is going to look like, there's not going to be much of a surprise here because the images were leaked earlier, and it's going to be harder and harder for Apple to be able to keep images and what the phone product's going to look like a secret, as you know, the manufacturing process is so complicated and people can buy that information. So it's going to be very difficult from now on. I think we're going to know ahead of time some of the leaked, for future iPhones, leaked pictures of it. So some of the leaked pictures are actually right. So basically, when they came out on stage, in the first picture here, you can see here, the camera's right in the front, and they talk about how it's the thinnest and lightest iPhone yet, and it's made of glass and aluminum, so it's 18% thinner than the 4S. Now, most of us have cases on our phone anyways, and when I take mine out of the case, you know, it's thin as it is, so that's going to be really thin. So it's got the same Retina display, but the phone itself is actually 4 inches now, so it's taller. So now it has 5 rows of icons instead of 4, but it's the same width, so it's still got the 1148 by 640. It's just taller. And now there's going to be a 16:9 aspect ratio for the whole screen, which is great. So what that means for software is that, here's a couple pictures of some of the apps. So they show GarageBand here in the calendar app. But what that means is that there's going to be black borders on either side of old apps until developers have a chance to redesign those and make it fit for the larger screen. And there's going to be also 44% more color saturation and integrated touch right into the screen. So that's kind of neat. So one of the main things that they talked about in the event is the ultra-fast wireless capabilities. So it's going to have the regular HSPA as well as the HSDPA, but it's adding LTE. So basically it's caught up to the other phones on the market, and that's good that they're finally adding LTE. So LTE is going to be a single chip, which is going to make the phone probably have a better battery life. And these phones, the new iPhone 5 is going to be available in the US on Sprint, Verizon, and AT&T for LTE capability. And in Canada, it's going to be Rogers, TELUS, and Bell. So the iPhone is now able to search at home with the new A6 chip, 2 times faster than the previous 4S, which was the A5 chip. It's also going to have 2 times better graphics. They brought out Rob Murray from EA Games to talk about the speed, and he shows a game, and here's a couple pictures here, called Real Racing 3. And so supposedly it's got full console quality on this. So here's a couple pictures here, and the Game Center now is better, and the multiplayer in Game Center is better. And here's a bit of the battery life. So 225 hours standby is pretty good. And here's 10 hours talk time, 8 hours music. So here's some pictures of what the battery life is going to look like. They go in and talk about the camera. Now the camera they're going to call the EyeSight camera, and it's going to have the dynamic low light mode, precision lens alignment, and sapphire crystal. And here's some sample photos taken with the iPhone 5, and they have not been altered in any way. These are the exact images. And Apple actually now says that it's the most amazing new feature. I don't know if it is, but it's called Panorama View. And take these big panorama pictures. And one of the things that is great is they talk about there's going to be a 0 lag shutter time. For those of you who have the 4S or 3GS or previous models, the shutter time lag is pretty bad. So we'll have to see what that looks like when we get our hands on that. But that's going to be a nice feature. So as far as video mode, it's going to have a 1080p video mode. HD camera can also take pictures while making videos, which is nice. I'll give you a little bit of functionality there. The iPhone will also have 3 mics, so there'll be a mic on the bottom, one on the front, and one on the back. And here's a picture of where those mics will be. They also say it's going to have noise canceling earpiece and wideband audio. Now the camera's still going to be 8 megapixels, but that doesn't really matter because quality images don't actually really fully come from megapixels. They come from the sensor. So sensor upgrade is going to be the main thing that's going to affect the quality of the images. I want to talk a bit about the connector. So here's the pictures. There's going to be a new cable, and they're calling it Lightning. And they say that it's reversible and 80% smaller, which it is. You can see from the picture. And they do have an adapter for the 30-pin connector. So if you are connecting to your car, or if you're connecting to speaker, like a Bose system or your computer, you're going to be able to use other devices. It's probably going to cost an arm and a leg. I'm guessing around $30. They haven't talked about price to get that connector. They should just really include that within the new iPhone because everybody else is going to have those 30-pin. So I think that should be an included thing. But Apple's very clever at getting some money. They're good at business. So Scott Forstall comes on and talks a bit about iOS 6 on the new iPhone. So he shows a picture here of maps, turn-by-turn GPS, and also a Safari and iPhone in full screen mode, which is nice. And then he talks about the passbook, everything in one place. So your boarding pass, your Starbucks gift card, anything like that, you can now all have in one spot. So now photo stream sharing for iOS 6, so you can share pictures, and video with only certain people. So basically it's talking about the same stuff as WWDC. Really nothing's changed here. Apple's really lagging on the software on this. I'm a little disappointed with that. They really need to step up the software stuff to compete. But the hardware is pretty neat. They do make some Siri upgrades. So Siri can now learn about movies. So you can ask Siri to recommend a good movie in theaters, or you can make table reservations using Siri. And now Siri can also do Facebook updates, which is great. They also made, they didn't really talk much about it, but accessibility better for those who need it. So it comes in black and white. The black is anodized back, and the white is raw aluminum back. And the inside of the iPhone, you can see pictures here. The battery forms the majority of the phone. You can also see the little LTE chip and the A6 chip. And the price for these are going to be, this is on contract, $199 for the 16 gig, $299 for the 32 gig, and $399 for the 64 gig. And that's on contract. In the US, that's going to be a 2-year contract, and in Canada, it's going to be a 3-year contract. So they basically show a new iPhone video, which will probably be up on the iPhone site, the Apple site shortly. And here's a picture of Johnny Ive, who is in the video. So in this iPhone, there's no NFC communication. I think Apple's giving it time to develop before they actually implement it into an iPhone. It may actually be a couple phones before we see it. Apple's manufacturing product is pretty phenomenal, and they're going to have a lot of orders on this, and their manufacturing process is pretty detailed. And here's some pictures of it. So September 14th is when you can make, so this Friday, you can make pre-orders, and it actually ships on the 21st. And iOS 6 will be available on September 19th, and it's available as a free download. Now, Apple goes right into talking about music. So they're upgrading the iPods and the iTunes. Again, this is another spoiler alert. So September 19th, new iTunes and App Store will be implemented. And iTunes will have a new edge-to-edge design, and the in-store feature where you can see the top songs and albums, and artists can share pictures and connect better with fans. So you can also switch screen view to see a library while making playlists, which is nice. You can see songs that are in queue, and here's a picture of the mini player. There's a couple of mini players here, and iCloud will be built into iTunes, as well as quick links. And I'm sorry, it's actually not going to be September 19th. It's going to be out in October. Here's a rundown of some of the pictures. So it's not radically different from the iPhone, but the current iTunes, but they really did need to make an upgrade on this one. And here are the new iPods. So the first one is the Nano, which has a larger display, which is great. So the new Nano has multi-touch. It's got a 2.5-inch display. It's a home button, and it comes in different colors. It also has an FM tuner that can pause, rewind, and a widescreen video mode. It's got a fitness pedometer and Bluetooth, and it's good to use in the car, the Bluetooth. And we'll also have the new Lightning connector and longer battery life. And now they talk about the 5th generation iPod Touch. So it's actually almost as thin as the Nano, as you can see from this picture, and it's the lightest iPod Touch ever created. It's got the same display as the iPhone 5, but it's using the A5 chip. It also has the 7 times faster graphics than the previous generation, and they show a little video here of Clumsy Ninja, which is a game demo, which will be available in the holiday season. And so it's got 40 hours of music, and it's got an iSight 5-megapixel cameras, so the pics you can take also with panorama mode, so a lot of the same features as the iPhone 5. It also has Mirror Play gaming, so you can game with iPod in a TV set as well. Siri will be on there as well. It comes in a number of different colors too, which is nice. So that's the new iPod Touch. Now, just quickly before I run out of time here, they do talk about new speakers. So there's going to be new earphones, and Apple says that they took 3 years to design these new EarPods, and they call them the EarPods. So it has an inline control. Here's a picture of it. And they actually scanned hundreds of ears to design the best fit. So that means that the speaker is actually directed towards the ear canal. So EarPods are going to be included with all the new products except the Shuffle. So you'll see it with the new iPod Nano, the new iPhone, and the new iPod Touch. Basically that's kind of the event here. So I think the exciting things here are going to be the new iPods coming out. And the iPhone is pretty cool, and that's a lot of stuff to release in one event. I mean, nobody can release that as many products as Apple. The iPhone was disappointing for those of us who were able to see leaked images ahead of time. If there were no leaked images, I bet it would have been